In the dimly lit corners of history, beneath layers of dust and dogma, lie stories that challenge the carefully curated narratives of the past. Today, we embark on a journey into the intriguing world of the lost books, censored by the early church. These are texts that, for various reasons, were excluded, banned, or buried, deemed too controversial, heretical, or simply inconvenient for the shaping of orthodox beliefs. What were these texts, and why did they pose such a threat to the nascent Christian doctrine? Our story begins in the early centuries of Christianity. As the teachings of Jesus spread across the Roman Empire, a multitude of writings emerged, each offering different perspectives on his life and message. Some of these texts, now known as the Gnostic Gospels, presented alternative views of Christianity that diverged from what would become mainstream theology. Among them was the Gospel of Thomas, a collection of sayings attributed to Jesus that emphasized personal spiritual knowledge over the institutionalized doctrines upheld by the Church. This gospel, along with others, like the Gospel of Mary Magdalene and the Gospel of Judas, provided more mystical and esoteric insights into the Christian faith. However, as the Christian Church sought to establish a unified doctrine, these divergent texts were seen as threats to its authority. The Council of Nicaea in 325 AD marked a pivotal moment, as it set forth the Nicene Creed and began the process of defining which texts were considered canonical. Those that did not align with the emerging orthodoxy were labeled apocryphal and were subsequently excluded from the New Testament. Yet, these texts were not merely dismissed, they were actively suppressed, banned, and buried, with some even being destroyed in an effort to protect the theological unity of the Church. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene, for example, offered a narrative where Mary was portrayed as a prominent disciple and confidant of Jesus. This stood in stark contrast to the male-dominated leadership structure that the Church was promoting. Similarly, the Gospel of Judas presented Judas Iscariot not as a betrayer, but as someone following Jesus' instructions, challenging the traditional story of betrayal immortalized in the canonical Gospels. In addition to individual Gospels, there were also entire collections of writings that faced censorship. The Nag Hammadi Library, discovered in 1945 in Egypt, unearthed a treasure trove of early Christian and Gnostic texts that had been hidden away for centuries. These works, such as the Apocryphon of John and the Gospel of Philip, expanded the understanding of early Christian thought and revealed the rich diversity of beliefs that once flourished. The reasons for the suppression of these texts were manifold. Some were seen as heretical, challenging the fundamental doctrines of the divinity of Jesus or the nature of salvation. Others threatened the socio-political structure of the Church by advocating for an egalitarian society or criticizing the accumulation of wealth and power. The early Church leaders, in their pursuit of unity and orthodoxy, viewed these texts as obstacles to creating a cohesive and centralized religious institution. Yet, despite their suppression, these lost texts continued to intrigue scholars, theologians, and believers alike. Over time, as archaeological discoveries brought these works back into the light, they have provided invaluable insights into the early Christian world. They reveal the complex landscape of beliefs that existed before Christian doctrine was solidified and remind us of the diverse voices that were once part of the early Church's narrative. In conclusion, the banned and buried books of early Christianity paint a picture of a time when the fledgling religion was still finding its footing, and different interpretations of Jesus' teachings flourished. While the early Church succeeded in shaping a uniform doctrine, these lost texts serve as a reminder of the richness and diversity of early Christian thought. They challenge us to reflect on the nature of religious authority, the complexities of history, and the enduring quest for spiritual truth. As we close this exploration, we recognize that the past, in all its depth and diversity, continues to shape and inform the spiritual narratives of the present.